Hi, everybody.
Hi there, I'm Jasmine.
I'm Andrea.
We're Natural Ewe Yarns.
And we are so excited to start this knit along finally.
Yes, I called it All About Autumn because I like alliteration. But basically, we are knitting some fall wear in time for Christmas gifts even. But definitely because we want to be decked out in our warm woolens in time for the snow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody's like at the end of their stash of minis from the advent calendar last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so larger projects may not even be possible yet.
Right. So this is, I think we had 6 patterns, 4 knit and 2 crochet, and they're basically meant for you to dive in your stash and use either the full skeins of minis you have left or little bobs and pieces. And also, if you need main colors to contrast or work with it, you can just pull from stash. That's the idea.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, if you need a main color like for yours,
Mm-hmm.
for the cowl, you need more than a mini.
I needed 50 grams, but I went with a full skin because then I have purple left over to do something else with.
And
right.
who can have enough purple?
Right? So do we want to touch on what the patterns are?
Yeah, let's look at what you're going to knit.
Okay, since we already mentioned my colors, we might as well. So I'm knitting the Slip Away Cowl. This is a free pattern. We did a lot of free pattern options because, well, they're always a bonus to find, and then to find designers that we like, and maybe we can purchase their other patterns from them, right?
Right.
So this is by Kay Lighton, and it is a mosaic knit. You know how I like them.
Oh, we love them.
So it's, instead of doing stranded color work, you are working in your colors in stripes and using slip stitches to create really fun designs. This zigzag sort of pattern repeats 3 times throughout. So my main colors I chose were elderberry from the store. That's the best part of having a store, isn't it? The employee discount. So now not to make
she
you
didn't
jealous.
take them all. That was not the last one. There are more elderberry.
No, I actually I made sure that I chose a color that we have lots of. It also just helps that I love it, and I'm a purple girl. A lot of people are.
Yeah.
Now, not to make you feel bad about my employee discount, but if you sign up for our loyalty program,
I make her work for it.
She sure does. Our loyalty program is, well, it's fantastic. It's free to sign up, and every time you spend $50 or more in store, so every visit where you spend $50 or more, you earn what we call a sheep, and 5 sheep means that you are a shepherdess, and you can turn them in for 10% off your purchase. If you keep collecting and get up to 10 sheep, you get 20% off. So I know a lot of people have asked in the past if they can use this towards advent calendars and like big purchases, and that's kind of why it's there, right? So
right.
that you get rewarded for knitting. Anyway. Yeah.
Not that it's not a reward in itself.
I know, but you have a little bit more incentive, right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing it with this lovely lilac color, and then I forget the name. It's from the advent calendar, but I forget what we named it.
Was it Lovely Lilac?
You know,
no.
I don't know. That's one of the colors in the store. No, we name it after things in the Maritimes. So it might have been Aster this year.
Oh, yes, Atlantic Aster.
Or it might have been Lupins, yeah. And then this one was Sea Rose. Now, I think that these are from 2 seasons ago. Not last year's advent calendar, but 2022, because last year we sold out and didn't get one ourselves.
Yeah, somebody at the last minute said, oh, I would really like one, and so we gave it to them.
Of course.
And I'm hoping that doesn't happen this year. We really need minis.
We do.
Plus, this year's minis I really like.
We say that every year, but this year is the best calendar we've ever put together.
Yeah.
I'm really, really excited about it. Yeah. It was so much fun.
I love doing them because it gives an opportunity to try out new combinations of colors and different dye stuff sometimes. And so the minis in the advent calendar are the first ones to get that. This year we may actually do a series of colors based on the advent colors.
Yes, like we have the Boreal collection, we might have a Nova Scotia collection. So a few key colors every year out of the advent calendars that we are most proud of or that people love the most might find their way onto full skeins.
Right.
And then, yeah. But back to this. So the slip-away cowl requires 50 grams of your main color, approximately. So that's why it's okay that I have a larger skein, because maybe you want to make it a little bit longer, or it's a 10-stitch repeat, and every 6 stitches, if you get gauge, is an inch. So maybe you want to make it a little bit wider so that you don't mess up your hair so much every time you slip it over your head.
Making a cowl longer, and then you can bring it up. If it's really windy when you're coming out of the grocery store, you can put it up and you're not going to get...
Yeah, if you don't have a whole lot of hair.
Yeah.
But if you have a ton of hair, that's harder. But yes, the great thing about cowl...
Long hair problem.
Yes. And then for the minis, I think she used just one mini, or she used one contrast color, and it calls for 30 grams. So our minis are 25 grams, and I thought I would do a mix of two.
I think the whole thing could be done in minis. Each section, like the main color sections, could be at mini colors too.
Mm-hmm. You'd have to
and
have
then it'd be like
some that maybe faded or complemented each other, and then
or just crazy.
Or just crazy. I was going to say, like, the slip stitches would have to be pops of color and kind of...
Oh, yeah, they would definitely have to contrast one another.
So today's cast on, and I
want to talk about my pattern.
I know, I want to finish talking about this one and then go from pattern
okay.
to pattern. I just thought that made sense. I'm going to go and continue to talk. I cast on, and I was going to do a magic loop. In fact, I cast on a magic loop and got about 3 rows in after joining in the round to discover that it was twisted. If you've been knitting with us for a while, you know I hate magic loop. So that was all the incentive I needed to switch to 16-inch fixed circulars. And oh my God, I love them. I mean, you just, when you're knitting in the round like that and you don't have to worry about pulling out your needle.
You said the tips are shaped? No. Angled?
Let's see. Not so much with this one, but like that is the needle tip. It's quite small. I think that's
easier for going around the corner.
Yeah.
You don't have to actually do the magic loopy thing as often.
Yeah, I tried it with my interchangeables, and even with a 3.5 millimeter, it still was a bit longer and got a bit caught. So, yeah, I love doing just a fixed circular like this.
For the smaller stuff, yeah, but with the shorter needles, because then it does make it easier to go around the curve.
And I'm basically just doing the ribbing, knit 3, purl 2 for 12 rows, and that's as far as I've gotten.
Are you done yet?
Yep. What? Well, I mean, we're talking about each pattern.
Yes. I think that you chose a nice one to start with.
Thanks.
Okay. And then I started with this prematurely before we even decided on a knit along, because I wanted to see how this pattern would work out, and I also wanted to see how the yarn knit up, because we don't always see all our yarn knit up. This is done with our sugar cookie, which has got a beigey brown caramely color and then a speckled opposite end, and then this one is called Bordeaux, and it's a tonal. Which also shifts as you go. But for the outside of this hat, it's the sugar cookie, and it ended up striping almost like in single stripes with the different colors.
With flecks of it like looks like berries flecked throughout.
Yeah, can you see that? Yeah. So, but the pattern itself is done in one piece. You start at the crown and you increase until, you do have to do a gauge swatch for this one, until you get the circumference that you want for your head and headband. And then you just knit straight until you have the right length for the hat, whether you're doing a beanie or a slouchy. And then you knit your ribbing. You change color, and magically you do another band and another hat section, and then you do the decreases at the top and finish off and it's all in one piece. Then you just put one end inside the other one and you've got a double layered hat. I made my ribbing a little longer. I made it 4 inches, I think it was, because then if you're wearing it slouchy, like if I've got my hair up, I like it to have a slouchy hat. But if it's really cold, I like to pull the hat over my ears and double up the brim. And then you've got the contrast. but you've also got 4 layers on your head for that extra warmth when it's really nippy out there.
Yeah.
So, and again, this one had narrow little stripes from the tonal.
Very pretty.
Yeah, I used, rather than use 50-gram skeins, I used full skeins because I wanted to be able to make sure that I had enough yarn. And so I weighed it at each stage, and 50-gram skein, 2 50-gram skeins. I can't talk.
Well, you told me to be quiet, so you better fill the silence.
Anyway, 50-gram skeins are enough to do the hat in 2 different colors. But because I had so much left over, I actually knit a pair of socks.
Oh my god, and if I thought I liked these colorways in a stripy hat, they are gorgeous as socks.
Because the stripes are wider.
Mm-hmm.
And they're matching mismatched socks. I did the heels, toes, and the bands in opposite colors.
So we have a limited number of those yarns left. Actually, I think we might be sold out of Bordeaux, or there's only 3 skeins or something like this. So yeah,
and orchid is all gone. I have to do more orchid too.
Yeah, Bordeaux's all gone. We have 3 skeins of orchid. Yes, we promised them to Tracy, but I mean, if you buy them first, you buy them first.
She's coming tomorrow.
You have to buy them now.
Anyway, so, and I still have a little wee bit left of each, and I like my legs on my socks longer than some people, so.
But that way they peek out of your boots.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people like to do leg warmers.
Just make your socks
Andrew
longer.
just likes to do leg socks. Leg warmer socks.
Yeah, and I bring them up over my leggings because I tend to wear leggings all the time.
But it would work over like a skinny pair of jeans or your yoga pants.
And the other thing I did was I made the toes, I shaped them to my toes. We're gonna have to do that during some knit along. This is not a sock knit along, so I just wanted.
I know. I was like, why are we still showing a pattern we're not doing for this knit along? Ignore her. Wait, I'm not done.
Oh.
You've just been talking consistently. I would like to talk about this hat squared pattern. Also free if you get the version off of her website, or I think it's like $2 on Ravelry. Really good. But what I'm trying to say is that you could do it with your minis and knit the body of the hat with one mini. Pick up another mini in either a complementary color or contrast, like a Papa color, and do a color block section of ribbing. Switch to yet another mini. So we're on the 3rd one now for the other bit of ribbing here. And then a 4th mini for the top of the hat. And I think that would look really sharp because, you know, depending on what colors you choose and what, you know.
And how many times you fold the band up, you can have quite the combination.
Yeah, what hat you have inside of the other one and how many times you flip the band, that could be really sharp.
Yeah. Great gift too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really great gift. Okay, so on to the next.
Yes, so when I actually cast on for this earlier today, and then I took it off the needles because I decided to go down and need a size. The pattern comes in small and medium. So this is the Fadewalker Fingerless Mittens. And
gorgeous.
Yeah, it says to use 5 colors, but I think I've got 4.
And have plenty because our minis are bigger.
Right. And here's the a different color version there.
So it's like an ombre mitten.
Yeah.
It's a fade, right?
Right. But I think, again, you could just do any color combination you like.
You could do crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy mittens.
Creative.
No, but I meant like crazy color combinations.
Right.
They don't have to fade. They don't even have to complement each other. It can just be like scrappy all the way down. That's a look.
Yes.
If you like that kind of look, yeah.
Yeah, and depending on which minis you have left and if they don't match one another, that could be a great thing to do. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
Also a free pattern. Okay.
Okay, so I actually had 3 minis, and I had used part of this one, but I think very little, because somehow I had already split it into 2, or maybe one was a scrap from you and one was a scrap from me.
It was for my Astra tea.
Oh, okay. So, anyway, I thought that putting these 4 colors together in a fade would be nice for the Fadewalker mittens.
They're lovely. Can I give a suggestion?
Sure.
You should swap the pink and the
Oh,
orange.
yeah, actually, that is the way it's supposed
Because
to be.
there's some,
I'm holding it up wrong.
Because there's some white in the orange.
Yeah, no, I just held it up wrong. Sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's going to be my mitts. And instead of starting with the dark color at the wrist, I'm going to use the light color. Because I think that having the light color at the wrist is nicer than down here. Because this is the part where that touches everything. And I'd rather have it be a dark color.
Okay, so you're doing a reverse Fadewalker then.
Right.
Well, Andrea likes to be different. So.
Apparently, if you have a kitchen scale, you can weigh your yarn. I have been told that it takes 55 grams of yarn. So you're not going to need all of all the minis. You can, like I'm doing, use some that isn't quite the entire mini. But if you weigh it and make sure that your total for the pattern comes to 55 grams or more, then you're sure to have enough.
That way, if you are using your scraps from another project in this knit-along even, you just have to make sure that you have, as you said, 55, or if you want to be consistent with color, 11 grams of each. But you're doing actually the smaller size.
Yeah, because I cast on for the medium, which is 68 stitches on 2.25 millimeter, and I'm using double points. And then I looked at it and I thought, that looks awfully big. And I slipped it over my arm and I thought it was going to be too loose in the wrist. So I'm doing the small, which is 60 stitches. And if you think about when you're doing socks, 60 stitches is oftentimes all I do for a pair of socks, 60 or 64.
64.
And so your wrist is usually smaller than your ankle.
Is it? Yeah. Okay.
And you're not having to go over your heel, which is the part that where you really need to be able to stretch. And you want it to kind of fit so that you don't get a draft down your arm.
I don't know. They do say that for warmth, it's good to have a little bit of space, like in your socks and stuff like that, in your boots, because heat pockets, like it helps to keep you warm rather than having something too tight. Right. So I can see the benefit either way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for me, I want it to properly fit. Now,
can you show off those needles with like a black background? I really want them to see that.
Our new double points are gold.
We only have them in the 2.25 and the 2.5 at the moment.
Oh, there's some blue ones.
Standard is gray, and then we have some blue ones. I think they're in like the 4 millimeter range, and they're like a turquoise, not a turquoise, but like a bright blue.
Cobalt
almost. Yeah, really cool.
And the nice thing about the collage needles is you can't see it so much on these because they're the reflection of the sun in these, but they've got 1/2 inch marks on them so that you can actually measure with, because you got a set of 5. If you got 4 in your work and the spare, you can measure how long your cuff is or how long that color section is without having to grab your tape measure. I'm not done.
Oh, I want to show out.
Okay, show them.
Since we're talking about the double points, if you're not totally enamored with the gold, then this isn't for you. But I did get...
We're getting ready for the Christmas gift giving too, right? So,
we have... So they do... what are these called?
A pouch.
No, but like a
set.
A set, right. So they do sets of double points as well as their interchangeables. And these are all in gold. You got your 2 millimeter, your 2.25, your 2.5, your 2.75, your 3 millimeter, and your 3.25. So all the little ones you're going to need for your socks, mittens, what else? Maybe even your hats, depending on...
Well, sometimes when you get to the crown and you're decreasing, even if you've done the whole thing in Magic Loop, when you get down to only 30 stitches or so, Magic Loop gets to be a bit of a pain.
Yes. So even on the 16-inch circulars, I'm going to switch down to, because it's a cowl. If it was a hat, I'd switch down to my DPNs. I forgot it wasn't a hat for a minute. Anyway, the case is super cute, and they make wonderful Christmas gifts.
And it's kind of nice to have them all lined up and separated when they're that close in size.
Yes.
And not all sock yarn is the same. Some is slightly thinner and some is slightly thicker. So sometimes you do need to do a gauge swatch and adjust even a little bit because of the thickness of the yarn. Not all fingering is fingering.
Yeah, when you're working with socks or working with fingering weight, really sometimes you do have to go with a 2 millimeter or jump up to a 2.5, even if the pattern calls for a 2.7.
If it's a bit thicker.
Yeah, but typically sock patterns call for a 2.25, but I have customers who come in and swear by the 2 millimeter as being just the right one for the job.
It depends on whether you're a tight or a loose knitter too, right? Your tension has a lot to do with it.
That being said, I am a tight knitter, and so my best knits are because I went up a needle size or 2. So with the slip-away cowl and me doing the 16-inch fixed circulars, we didn't have a 3.5, so I decided to go with a 3.75, and I got gauge, and that's because I'm a tight knitter. Anyway, even if it is a little bit looser, it's so minuscule that it won't
on a cowl it doesn't matter.
Won't be noticeable. It'd actually probably be nicer to have just a little bit more give as you're slipping it over your head.
Yeah. So back to double points.
Double points.
And I'm starting over because I started with 68 stitches and I'm going to do 60. So 15 on each of the 4 needles, and then the 5th needle is for working. But I don't know if you've ever worked with double points at the cast on stage. It can be quite wonky and frustrating because you're not sure if you're twisting things, and it can twist on the needle, between the needle, and at the next needle, and so on. And I saw a post, so I tried something new today, and the first time I cast on, it actually worked quite well. And a lot of people, when they're working with double points, will cast everything onto a longer needle and then slip them onto the other needles one by one to get the right number on each of the 4 needles. I like to cast them on and on all 4 needles as I go.
I've always done that, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's nerve-wracking.
Right. So what I did today and is when I got I was 17 stitches. So I had 17 stitches on the first needle, and then between the last and the second to last cast on, I put the next needle between the 2 and held on to it, and then started casting onto the next needle. And then that way, the stitches were lined up and not twisted between the 2 needles.
Can you demonstrate that again?
So, okay. Here's the imaginary loop here and here.
So between the last stitch and
the
the
last
second
cast
stitch.
on and the second to last cast on, actually I came in this way from the back. So I just had the very point of the next needle, and I was kind of holding them, both of them, like this.
So they were
so that
perpendicular.
Sort of, yeah. Well, I guess everybody could figure out what angle works best for them, because you don't want to get caught in the long tail cast on with the first needle. So, but you don't want to lose, and you won't lose any because you're casting onto the second needle and holding that thread tight now. Anyway, then that's kind of anchored without a twist. And then when you get to the end of casting on the second needle stitches, you do the same thing with the third needle. You have that needle between the last and the second to last stitch, and you stick it in to secure it, and you again hold it so that you're casting onto the end of that needle, and you can keep going. And then when you do the 4th one, these ones aren't like slack and falling down.
They're not going to wiggle as much because they're wedged in between the stitches you've just cast on.
Yes, and so then I laid it down because I wasn't sure if I trusted it. So I laid it down on my lap and I checked, and the stitches were all lined up.
Perfect.
And I left them like that, and of course the first needle and the last needle are then loose, but the other 3 are anchored. And as I knit, when I got to the end, I just slipped that needle, the second needle out so that I could knit the last two.
So then
it was less wonky and it wasn't twisted.
So then if all the needles somehow are wedged together, making this perfect square, when you go to connect them, right?
When you go to knit? Oh, when you go to connect them,
yeah,
you've got a square that you're connecting.
Right, and they're already set up. You can see that they're all facing the right way, so you're not
I've
twisted.
got all the, the edge down and in.
Yes, I like to do that too.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that when you start knitting in the round, my question becomes, do you continue to keep the needles wedged between the two stitches?
No, it's just for that first round.
Okay.
So then you're back to, until you've got like 4 or 5 rounds done, it's still a bit wonky, but it's nothing like it normally is when you're starting that first row. Because the first row, no matter whether you're knitting straight or in the round, the first row is always a little bit more fiddly getting into those cast-ons, right? And
so if they're put in there, how do you get them out?
Pull them out.
Okay. And you don't
It's
lose
just
any stitches?
No.
Okay. Well, that is something we're all going to have to try. I'm going to have to try with my double points next time.
Yeah.
It sounds like a miracle.
Well, and I was thinking for the hat, it would be really good because on the hat, I think it's only like 8 stitches to start with.
I do remember you cursing that hat when you began it.
Yeah. So if you could, stabilize it by connecting the pins.
So,
and what works for one person might need to be done slightly differently by somebody else.
What a clever trick. If we think about it in halftime, we'll try and film you doing it.
Okay.
Excellent. While we're at it, I'm going to talk about the next pattern in a moment, but why don't you pick up that mini skein set I got out? Because I think this mini skein set called Gorgeous, because named after, Halloween gourds, would be perfect for the Fadewalker.
Yeah, well, I think that any of the
yes, but I like this one in particular. I think I'd start with the palest color with a little bit of cream in there, and then the palest shade of orange, and the dark orange, and end with the gray.
Oh yeah, that would be nice because a mini set doesn't have to be knit in the order that it's in the box in.
No. Sometimes we just make it up, right? But there is a way to make it a slightly better fade.
Yeah, that would be pretty. But I think there's some other combinations in there, either in store or online.
There's one called Very Cutesy that I love. But it's, it's so me. It's got like a speckled skein with pinks and yellows and, anyway. On to the next.
So, after we've finished knitting the ones that definitely need a certain amount because of the pattern, then we move on to patterns in this make-along that you need to combine yarns or use scraps.
Right.
So you're going to do these.
I've already done them. I'm not going to do them. Already done.
I don't get another pair.
No. So I made myself a pair, and then I made Andrea a pair. You don't get another pair. They're the Marling Darling Slipper Sock. The pair I made Andrea that is modeled for the photos on Ravelry. I made it so that each sock in the set was almost a perfect match. And I did that by, I didn't necessarily divide my yarn into 2 balls. I would weigh it on a kitchen scale and say, okay, I've got 20 grams. I'm going to keep knitting until it feels like I have only 10 left, and then I'm going to set it aside. These were a little bit more scrappy in that they are not identical, but they do go together, and I did manage to fade them very similarly.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
And that's written up in the pattern. So the Marling Darling Slipper Socks, you're holding 4 strands of yarn together. I believe it's 3 fingering and then 1 strand of mohair.
So the mohair kind of unifies it?
That does help. So in the pattern, I do talk about how you make like a cohesive fade with the Marling, because it could be crazy, it could be wacky, but if you want cohesion from cuff to toe, what I recommend is having one color that runs throughout the whole sock. So for me, it's peachy tones. I love peachy tones, right? This one's a good one. Mismatched socks at number 10. And did.
You're funny.
What I did was use like a lighter peachy tone.
Mismatch socks at number 10.
So I would make sure that one of my strands was always that same color all the way through. So if you have a full skein, then that is the one color that carries all the way through both socks, and the 3 other strands can change. So you can do it with consistently with the mohair and one strand of fingering that, like, they don't have to match, but if they are the same all the way throughout, well, there you have cohesion.
Right.
The pattern explains it a bit better, but basically you knit till you run out of one yarn, and then you just add another one in. So you're not striping, you're not worried about carrying any yarn. You basically just knit till you run out of yarn. And I like to put my balls of yarn on the table, like you did.
Yarn chicken on purpose.
Yarn chicken on purpose is a lovely way of putting it.
Yeah.
I put them on the table like you did, and
So
I decided what made a gradient and what would be at the beginning and what would be at the end. But rather than have one of each in the row, I made sure I had 3 of each in the row, and then a mohair that matched.
Oh, that's a great way to do it.
So then I can use all my scraps, and I can put, like, I could do it where I make sure that I only knit with half of it, or I just put the 2 socks side by side before I start and make sure that, all these yarns sort of go together, and all these yarns, you know what I mean? Is that making sense?
Make 2 sets.
Yeah, 2 sets, one for each
That's a
sock.
cool idea.
And that way, you're like, I have all these scraps, and they kind of go because I gravitate towards the same colors, but how do they go? And if you have the, your one skein wonders, you buy that lovely hand-dyed sock yarn you don't know what to do with, so it sits in your stash.
That can be your one
That
color
can be
that
your
goes all the
one
way
main
through.
color, and then you just go and you pick all your bits and bobs that sort of look lovely with it, and decide, I'm going to start with this one, and then work my way down to that
So you
color.
can go from blue to green to yellow to
Yes.
orange kind of thing.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that's the trick. You try not to try it out 2 yarns at the same time. Every time you add a new yarn, you want to only drop 1. If you add 2 at the same time, it's going to be a very noticeable divide.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, other than that, they're very vanilla, plain sock pattern. Not much there.
But they're really comfy.
Yes, they are.
Okay, so speaking of not having a contrast, then the opposite happens with the cowl, the crocheted one. I forget the name of it.
Are you talking about the Abba's sock yarn cowl?
Is that
That's the crochet cowl that's part of this knit along.
Well then, yes.
Yes.
What other one would I be talking?
I don't know.
Okay, so I actually dug out a collection of old crochet hooks, and I'm going to make an attempt to crochet the cowl because it's all double crochets, and I even YouTubed how to double crochet, and I was like, yeah, okay, that's pretty much the only stitch I know, so great, I can do this. And so I'm going to learn how to get used to crochet patterns, and I can use up scraps at the same time because each round is supposed to be a different color. And I think that if you have yarn like when I did the striping with on here, and it actually gives you 2 colors or 1 stripe per row, then you can use it for more than 1 row.
Yes.
Right?
I could see that working, yeah.
So I think that if you wanted to do it a little bit more crazy, you could just have like, let's say you've got a little bit and bob that's half this size, and just even do 2 rounds. But
yeah, there's no reason why you have to switch out your color every row.
So after we've done all the other ones and we have more scraps, then I'm going to do the cowl. And
you were saying you were going to look for crochet hooks. Well, if you are
we haven't got
a crocheter or in search of crochet hooks, we have a set for that as well.
Yeah, and Collage has ergonomic ones because just like the needles, it's easier to hold a square peg than a round one, right?
That's why they give young children blocks, because their dexterity isn't there, but it's easier for them to grab something square than it is something round.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So these have like a little groove on each side, so you can actually get a bit of a grip on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's where your thumb would naturally sit. Yeah.
Right. And
but they're wooden handles. I love them.
And metal tips.
Yeah.
But these are very precise. They're not rounded off very much. They're like regular.
No, I went for the pointed set.
Oh, they have different ones?
Yeah, so they have ones that are rounded, and I chose the pointed because I think that that's nice to be able to get into your stitch. I could be wrong.
I would have chosen rounded.
Sorry.
It's okay. But everybody's different, right? I like really pointy knitting needles, and I want rounded off crochet hooks. That doesn't totally make sense.
Doesn't totally make sense.
No.
So they go from, what size do you have there?
This is an A American or a 2 millimeter.
And they go up to a 5 millimeter.
Here.
So again, you have 6 of them, right?
Yeah.
2, 4, 6. Yep. From your smallest to up to a 5 millimeter or an H, if you prefer to go by the numbers. And then the pouch also has a section for all your notions and extras that you might want to carry with you. Like like
a little zippered part.
A little zippered part, yeah. The pouches are great. They remind me of my paintbrushes in the canvas bag that I have them. It wraps around and then you secure it. So
you just tuck those tail in.
You tuck the tails in.
Journal covers.
Mm-hmm. So that's great. Should we talk about the other needles on the table real fast?
Yes.
Okay.
Because Christmas is coming and we've gotten some stock for people to get interchangeable sets or DPNs, crochet hooks as gifts.
Or to treat themselves because they get a gift card, which is also an option.
Which is really nice. Some people do get like just money for Christmas and then can buy their own, what they prefer.
So the Collage Gold interchangeable set is absolutely stunning. It's one of my favorites. You want to read off what's in here? Oops.
Sure.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. I'll get it later.
It's the instructions for how to
yeah.
They changed the tips. Anyway, this has got size 2.75 all the way up to an 8 millimeter.
Mm-hmm.
You've got how many? 2.75, 3, 3.5, 3.25, I missed, 3.75, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, and then an 8.
So you have everything except your really tiny needles, your 2 millimeter and your 2.2, your 2.5. Those I still recommend getting on fixed circulars. They don't make the tips for them.
Because I don't think I think the connector is too thick for those yarns.
Yes.
When you're making socks, you don't want there to be a little bulge in your needle.
Yeah, because of the way they connect. There's just a little hump that doesn't work with the smaller needles, but doesn't actually occur in the fixed circulars because they don't need to be interchangeable. So
and for socks, I actually prefer, I don't usually do DPNs. I most of the time prefer to do 2 circulars rather than 1. And I do both socks at the same time, obviously, 2 at a time. Half of one sock, half of the other sock on one needle. So let's say that's the top of the foot, the front of the leg. And then on the other needle is the back or the sole of the sock. And I mark the beginning of the round so that I know that that's the top of the foot. And I just change yarns in the middle.
What does that have to do with the needles?
Because you need 2.
Okay, can I get back to talking about the needles?
Yes.
Can you hold them since you didn't read the pouch at all? So on top of coming with every needle possible, they also have both firm and soft cables, a set of each 14-inch, 22-inch, 30-inch, and 37-inch. Oh, and 50. So lots of cables in there. A set of stoppers. You've got...
Yeah, this is the cable from the back here.
They can't see it. It's too dark against dark. But that doesn't matter. We're not taking it out. Tons of cables wrapped up in there.
There's a needle gauge and a key chain.
Yeah. So this is your needle gauge.
And you can attach that to your notion bag.
And a little keychain. Yeah. And then obviously their interchangeable tool, which comes with the tweezers, the magnifying glass, and the little LED light. And you also have a set of needle stoppers in there. So this tool is incredible. You can pull here, hold the pouch. You can pull the magnifying glass off of it if it's in your way, if for whatever reason, or you want to use it on its own. And then the tweezers.
I'm the Vanna White of the organization.
Yes. And then the tweezers also have the LED light that I was talking about, which is fantastic. So.
Yeah, it's really good to be able to change your needles with a magnifying glass sometimes, especially in the evening.
The only thing I say is that they just come with one set of needle stoppers.
Yeah, so
and I would recommend just right away buying another one or two
because if you're doing a top-down sweater, for example, you want to put an extra cable on each of the sleeves when you go to knit the body, and
now the gold needles are a little bit pricier because they're gold.
Do they include more needles?
They include more cables.
Oh, okay.
And I think more needles because this one only goes to
an 8.
Okay, they just include more cables then. Because they include from a 14-inch. They've now labeled them differently. That's your 16-inch. They include like from a 14 up to a 50.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so you've got way more cables and more options with the gold
in
set.
the gold set.
Yes, plus
but
you've got...
we have cables for if you need longer cables.
Right, plus you get your little needle gauge in there, which you don't have in the other one.
Right.
The other ones also aren't gold. So we have the
mini set.
The mini set, which has fewer needles. You want to tell me how much fewer?
Well, it's right here.
Thank you. And then they're just your standard.
We've got one set of tips, 3.5, 3.75, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6. Oh, it just goes up to a 6.
Right. So it starts at a 3.
So if you never knit anything super chunky, you're okay.
And it starts at a 3.5, whereas the full interchangeable starts at a 2.75.
Right.
So you get a few more needles with the large one. Or the
and with
full
this
set.
one, you get 3 cables, a 40, a 32, and a 24-inch. You get one set of stoppers and an interchangeable tool, which is like universal to all the interchangeable sets.
The difference between the mini and the full is just a couple more needles.
How much? The mini is available for $170, and the full is $270. I think there's more difference.
I think you might be right. Let's see.
They have soft and firm cables.
Doesn't it say that?
No, this one here just has the regular cable.
Oh, just the firm cables.
Yeah.
So, right, you get your soft cables, and you get 3 additional needles with this one.
So the difference in the cables, which I had forgotten about, they have cables that are really slack, which is great for putting in stitches that are resting.
Oh, like the sleeves.
Like the sleeves, so that they're not like coiled and in your way. They just hang nicely.
And it makes it easier to try it on.
Yes. And then the firm needles actually have the body like yours, where they actually, you know, will stay round and bouncy.
Yeah. I'm going to knit while we talk.
Okay.
But
I think this is it.
Well, we wanted to talk more about crochet options because there was the hat as well. Yeah. So the hat is called the Snow Mountain hat. It's a crochet. I haven't looked too closely at the pattern because I don't tend to crochet.
Yeah.
But I did see that it is gorgeous.
Yeah, I like it.
I really like first the colors they chose, but the patterning of it. And so I might challenge myself if I finish my cowl in time to crochet that hat. And that will be a journey in learning crochet again.
And when we're doing knit-alongs like this, where there's smaller things where you can do more things or knit other things at the same time as the knit-along patterns, that's a good time to learn something new when you're knitting something small.
Yes.
Right? That's why I'm going to try my hand at a cowl and crochet.
Especially a cowl where it's like a scrappy cowl and it doesn't matter if it's perfect.
Right.
because you won't notice so much because it's very busy.
Right. And just getting used to the motion and getting into the swing of crocheting again prior to learning anything new that's associated with it, like a new stitch or anything. Just want to get comfortable with it again, because there's a lot of patterns out there that actually mix crochet and knitting. And
there's some wonderful cardigans that do like crochet granny squares and then they knit them together and knitted sleeves and stuff like that.
I have my eye on a pair of socks that have little teeny weeny granny squares in the top of the leg. Like I guess you knit your band and then you do the granny squares and then you do the rest of the sock.
Right. That sounds cool. So what we're trying to say is that we are also going to try and challenge ourselves with this knit along. Yes, we have knit a couple of the items that we're showing off ahead of time. Like, for example, I designed the sock pattern, right? But
that's not going to fit. That bag's too... Oh, that's good. Never mind.
I can trade you bags if you want.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
So, what was I saying? We are going to challenge ourselves in other ways to expand and learn alongside you, or just to have fun alongside you. And the Year of Adventurous Knitting is a great group in order to pose questions or share pictures of your progress and offer helpful tips.
To be encouraging of one another. That was the other thing. And yes, the majority of the time we're going to be interested in knitting with or crocheting with minis. But let's face it, we all like to knit with something thicker every once in a while. And I don't think that that's necessarily going to be excluded from the conversation. You want to talk about something that you're working with worsted weight yarn on, that's fine. It's probably a technique that would also work with minis.
Mm-hmm. And while we're at it, I know that there were a couple people who started before us, and we did have an earlier start date that we had to push due to a death in the family. And thank you all for your condolences and well wishes during that time.
Yeah.
But back on point, it's okay if you started early, if you were too excited, and because you plan on doing all the patterns. Once you get towards the end, I know that I'm going to start suggesting some other patterns too.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I have so many saved up because I always want to do everything. So our library, our
favorites is a mess.
It's a chaos.
We have 43 bundles.
She doesn't label them correctly. Rather than just do like t-shirts or hats or cowls, she's like, this is a Christmas cowl. This is a striped cowl. This is mosaic.
This can be for Advent. And then there's a bundle called Jasmine and a bundle called Andrea. There's socks. There's
It doesn't make any sense the way you organize things. And I should have known because she is one of those people who lives in organized chaos where she knows where things are, but to everyone else it just like
makes no sense.
Heaps of junk. That's the creative mind for you. What was I saying? Oh, if you want to start suggesting additional patterns as you get towards finishing your own, that's okay too. Pop them in the Year of Adventurous Knitting.
Yeah, that would be great because we don't always have time to jump down the Ravelry rabbit hole.
Though we have quite a bit. And I know that like the Marling Darling slipper socks are great for using up your scraps, but also some people, as you were saying, want to knit with something thicker. I know that a couple people, and myself as well, enjoy marling or holding two fingering weights together. So I know of a hat I want to put in there and recommend. Basically, please interact on the Year of Adventurous Knitting and let us know that you're enjoying yourselves, or if you have any thoughts.
The majority of the people in the group are silent lurkers.
Voyeurs, mother.
And I hope that you're knitting along and enjoying it. But we would really like to know. Just so that we don't feel like we're not helping.
Or just babbling to ourselves. Though, I mean, we've been doing it for about an hour now. We've got no problem with that, do we?
No, well, we don't talk to each other. This is another... She's busy working in the office, or I'm in the shop, or in the studio, and then we don't even see each other.
Oh, that's another thing. We had to pause the video for a moment because we had the 3 a.m. knitter, Anne, come into the shop to collect some of the yarn. She had...
She lives 4 houses down and across the street, and she ordered online.
Love that about the website. And that's perfectly fine. So she popped in and she mentioned that she is doing some commission knits for people in time for winter and the Christmas season. Every once in a while we get people contacting us asking us if we sell like finished garments. No, but if you want help, if you are a knitter but you can't finish all your projects in time, or you know of people, a lot of people ask you if you'll knit them something and you don't know how to turn them down nicely, recommend Anne from the 3 a.m. Knitter.
She's a phenomenal knitter.
All they have to do is buy the yarn, have it shipped to her, buy the pattern, have it emailed to her, and she will tackle the project for them.
And mail it to them.
And she has rates. I think they're quite reasonable. I hope she charges what she's worth, because she is a phenomenal knitter.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
She also has a podcast, and
she does her own version of Maker's Circle.
Right.
With subscriptions and I think benefits to members.
Right,
so.
And she is a bit of a designer as well.
So that being said, ending on the discussion of the circle, tonight we are doing Maker's Circle.
Yes,
it is like a cast-on party. You don't have to be knitting anything in the Cowl to join us.
Yeah, just if you're knitting and you want to,
but if you're watching this video, you technically probably are. So if you have time, please join us. Let's introduce ourselves. Let's just talk about what we're working with.
I would love to see people's colors.
Yeah, and talk about a couple things. So that is starting at 8 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time.
I know that you're out there because you've answered the survey questions.
Yes. Oh, thank you for answering
those. That was really encouraging for us, because we don't always get feedback. And so that was very, very important. Yeah, thank you.
Again, that is tonight. We're kicking it off. And for people who are local, next week we'll be doing knit night at the Waterview restaurant here in Pictou. So there's lots of chances to interact. And again, the Facebook group. I think that about sums it up. I hope that you enjoy casting on and knitting along with us. Yes,
and please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're enjoying following us, and comment there as well.
Yeah. Even if you hit the copy link button, that helps us.
Yeah.
Okay.
See you tonight.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Be natural.
Be you.